This is some good Tesla stock news. Tesla Berlin's power supply is about to be restored due to exceptionally fast repair works and excellent cooperation amongst involved companies. Tesla Berlin's power supply might be back online in the evening today. And by the time you're watching this in Europe, it's going to be evening, so it might be already done. Repairs are being conducted with police protection. Police also guards all critical infrastructure around Tesla Berlin. And as I'm recording, Tesla stock is up a little bit today. If you remember earlier, the timeline was the end of this week and possibly Sunday. This was a massive transformer which was completely destroyed, which couldn't be fixed. Right after the attack, AJ says, I reached out to a company working on similar systems, high-power transformers of the type destroyed. They expect an absolute minimum of 2 weeks if Tesla could push immediately component suppliers to allocate available components earmarked for other customers to Tesla. They told me I should better expect a 4-week repair. Despite all the German red tape, Tesla built Giga Berlin in record time compared to German standards, and now Tesla fixes power supply in record time. In the meantime, this is happening near Giga Berlin. According to the organizers, around 1,200 people came to demonstrate against Elon Musk's factory, but there's police protection, so things shouldn't go wrong again. Anyway, Reuters also reported on this story. They are not being definitive that the power will definitely be resumed today, but it seems likely. Tesla says it is not yet possible to say how long it will take until production can be fully resumed. And the people working on electricity being resumed work in a 3-shift mode currently to ensure electricity can flow as soon as possible. So these German people are working extremely hard right now. Oh, Tesla is enforcing its no resale clause on Cybertrucks and cancels an order while blacklisting the owner. Moving forward, any future orders placed by you will be canceled without a refund of the $100 reservation or $250 order fee, as an official notification has been provided to you regarding this matter. The person that got that email from Tesla hasn't even sold the Cybertruck. He only listed his Cybertruck, but that was enough to upset Tesla. This is a story from Friday. A sister of a former transportation secretary passed away after possibly accidentally putting her Tesla in reverse, a mistake she made before. However, the sheriff's office is still investigating this accident as a criminal matter until they have sufficient evidence to rule out criminal activity. She may have accidentally put her Tesla in reverse while making a 3-point turn, and the car ended up drowning in a pond. It seems like the Model X was a 2020 model, which means it had a stock for shifting gears. I personally, not even one single time ever messed up the gear shifts with a stock. Occasionally though, when I try to shift the gear, it doesn't respond to the stock the first time, even though I have already pressed the brake pedal. It seems like there's some sort of a lag or something, but I have never had a single situation where I'm thinking I just put the car into drive to go forward and then the car reverses or vice versa. That has never happened to me even a single time. For anyone who wants to blame the shifter, keep in mind that Mercedes uses a shifter like this. It doesn't just look similar, it's exactly the same part, and Mercedes has been using it for more than a decade now. In the meantime, a man claims that Tesla Autopilot possibly saved his life during a seizure. And not just his life, but possibly lives of people that were driving around him who he could have crashed into. However, I watched some of the dashcam footage and I don't think Autopilot was on. I mean, the car was going left and right and it almost hit multiple cars and it hit multiple things. In the meantime, yeah, I don't think Tesla Autopilot did anything here. I don't think the car was on Autopilot. The video is almost sort of graphic, so I'm not going to play it here. The Rebellionaire just posted this 40-minute FSD drive, and his post says, that person waved and then the car started to go. Did it really do that? It's a 40-minute video, so I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but I assume it did. I'll see if I can find the clip and put that in tomorrow's video. And here's another significant V12 improvement.
Now what we're gonna look for is these little openings in the lane here for these Michigan lefts. In V11, for almost a year now, it just drifts over. It just moves into that lane, and then it will either move back over or hit the brakes abruptly, or try to complete the turnaround even though it's supposed to go straight. So we're gonna hope it doesn't do that. So here's the first one. Good. And I think this next one is the one that it messes up 100% of the time.
So it'll get in this left lane?
Mm-hmm. No turn signal or nothing. It just drifts over there.
Come on, V12.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Amazing.
Nice.
So simple, but I'm so happy to see that. And then this next one, it'll do it too. The next one's interesting because sometimes it'll move over and then correct itself, but it tries to do it here too. But let's see if it can handle it. Nope. Perfect. Exactly what it should do.
It just works.
Nope. That is great. Great, great, great.
I have certainly experienced some similar issues with my Tesla on FSD 11, but FSD 12 seems to have completely fixed this issue, which is a big deal. FSD 11 is like a person who doesn't have a driver's license yet, but maybe went on 1 or 2 drives and handle some situations very well, but sometimes you just never quite know what to expect. Whereas FSD 12 seems like someone who maybe is about to get a driver's license, or maybe just did. Probably more like someone who is about to get a driver's license. So no driver's license yet, but clearly it's pretty impressive. There are issues still though, for sure.
Did you see his face? Here, he's gonna talk to us, I think.
All right.
That's a Cybertruck. Cybertruck.
Cybertruck.
Yeah, made by Tesla.
That's a badass truck. Dude.
Thank you.
You want one?
Yeah. Sick, see ya.
I don't think there are any trucks on the market right now that get that much attention. Chicken Genius just posted a short to mid-term market update. Overall, he is mildly bullish. He thinks it could be a bit choppy till the middle of April or May and then down till June, but overall, he is bullish this year. He expects money printing to start in June. I don't invest based on market conditions though, so I'm going to look at this and then ignore it, because the average individual investor underperforms a market index by 1.5% per year, but active traders underperform by 6.5% annually. But hey, if you are able to make money trading, I have no issue with you. There are some that are able to do it, but there are very few. Volkswagen cancels plans to build ID.3 at the main plant because every euro counts. But the real reason is low demand. Almost with complete certainty, we can now say that the new Performance Model 3 is not going to be called Performance, it is going to be called Ludicrous. Because we can now see that in the source code of the Tesla configurator. To me, it means that the new Performance Model 3 is going to be substantially faster, or is noticeably faster than the previous one. I personally expect a 0 to 60 speed that would be under 3 seconds to qualify for that ludicrous name. Elon Musk's brother was just on Lex Friedman's podcast. I assume there's nothing really new about Tesla from the interview because I haven't seen anyone mention anything about this interview really on X. But I will probably still listen to it anyway. Sawyer sounds bullish here. I would say about 70% of Cybertruck owners I have spoken to so far have never owned a truck before. This, coupled with the fact that most truck buyers are lifestyle buyers these days, I think makes it difficult to gauge potential annual demand for Cybertruck. Elon said 250,000 per year, but I think that may be low, says Sawyer. The Cybertruck right now is priced at a fairly high price, but the average new pickup truck sells for about 67,000 right now in the US, so the Cybertruck certainly has a lot of potential. And unlike all other gas-powered trucks, it also gets the $7,500 EV tax credit. With the Tesla Model Y being the best-selling vehicle in the world, why eventually couldn't Tesla have a pickup truck that's also the best-selling pickup truck in the world? Omar is guessing that Cybertruck will be doing 500,000 to 1 million units a year later on. I personally believe that most pickup truck buyers are repeat buyers, meaning it's not the first time they are buying a pickup truck, but with the Cybertruck, a lot of the buyers are going to be first-time pickup truck buyers. I personally have never ever considered buying a pickup truck, but now I am, and ChatGPT is not really a perfect source of information, especially when it comes to facts and data. but it says that roughly maybe 20 to 30% of all pickup truck buyers are first-time buyers. And if Sawyer is right and 70% of Cybertruck owners are first-time pickup truck owners, this is quite bullish for Tesla. Tesla entered a blue ocean here, which is an important strategy if you run a business. Try to create a market for yourself instead of competing against everyone in the market, which is also what Tesla has done with EVs. If you include the $7,500 tax credit right now, the Cybertruck costs $72,500 for the dual motor all-wheel drive variant. So the price is very similar to the average selling pickup truck price in the US, and the Cybertruck prices will go down from there. As we have seen from other Tesla buyers, people I think will be wanting to trade up to the Cybertruck from their currently less expensive non-truck. For the people skeptical of the Cybertruck's general appeal, go ahead and see one in person, and if you can, take one for a test drive. It's an incredible vehicle. I haven't test driven it yet, but I have seen it in person and it's incredible. It looks exactly as I imagined it from the 4K videos that I've seen before. If you have only seen low resolution photos of the Cybertruck, it looks quite different in person. But if you have seen the 4K videos, to me, it looks exactly the same. And it looks great. Omar says, Cybertruck is a truck without most of the downsides of a truck. It's a truck that's more efficient than a Prius. To me, the biggest downside of a truck is the truck being so huge that it's difficult to park it in tight parking spaces, especially downtown. That's the biggest thing I would dislike about owning a pickup truck. And over here in Vancouver, we have some streets where you have 3 lanes, and the lanes are not very wide. So sometimes I feel when I see a wide pickup truck drive by me, I'm fitting in my lane with my Model 3 just fine, but the pickup truck is sometimes stepping out of its lane almost. It feels not exactly very safe. So while I would have a lot more space on the inside of the vehicle, on the roads, I would just feel cramped perhaps a lot of the time. I know people don't have that problem in most places in the US. And most places even over here are fine. It's just there are a few roads that I often drive through that would be really annoying to go through if I had a much wider vehicle that I was driving. On the other hand, the reason why it's so annoying to drive on these roads for me is because I'm in a Model 3, so I know if a big truck crashes into me, it's gonna be bad. But if I'm in a Cybertruck and some other pickup truck nudges me, I don't care, so maybe it's okay. I might have just talked myself into owning a Cybertruck. I haven't test driven one yet, so my decision is definitely not final. Also, I have a relatively tight garage situation because we do store a lot of things in our garage, which makes it a bit smaller. My good friend tried to park his Model X in the garage and it fit, but it's tight. So that's my biggest concern. Maybe I'll try to test drive it, maybe rent it for a day or something like that and see how much stuff I would need to remove from our garage. We have a pretty big freezer in the garage, so I would either need to get rid of it or throw some other stuff and move the freezer in a different location, which sounds like a lot of work. Or maybe I could just park it outside, but that sounds like not exactly an ideal situation for charging. Sawyer has a few more words to say about the Cybertruck. Just test drove the Model S, so now I have driven every Tesla except the Semi. Cybertruck definitely has the most comfortable suspension. I like a good suspension. Acceleration on the long range S is sweet, 3.1 seconds. He says that Barbara, who was with him, almost got sick from it. Interior quality is good, but I feel that Cybertruck has the most premium feeling interior of any Tesla to date. I know some people disagree with this, but after driving the new Model 3 on Friday and the S today, I still feel like the new Model 3 is like a baby Model S. The value is really good on the new 3, despite it not currently qualifying for the EV credit in the US. Although if you lease it, it's basically built into the lease price. A lot of features have trickled down from the S. But the problem with the leases is you cannot buy the Tesla vehicle at the end of your lease, so no one really wants to lease Tesla vehicles. The lease percentage is extremely low. I don't know why Tesla is still doing that. If you are a Tesla employee, please bring that up to the upper management. This must be because, I don't know. I don't have a good reason for this. I think it was initially related to Tesla solving full self-driving and then wanting to have a much bigger fleet from day one, but no one's leasing these vehicles. Or maybe more people are leasing now because this change just happened, so maybe I'm making this point a little bit too prematurely here. I am not too convinced that the lease percentage is going to increase by a lot, maybe by a little bit, and we will find out what that number is actually pretty soon when the deliveries come out for Q1. But if that number is not substantially higher than where it was before, Tesla, please let people buy their vehicle if they lease it at the end of their lease. Anyway, story continues. Back seats on the S felt more cramped than I expected considering the longer length of the vehicle, and wish there was more recline, but the seats themselves were comfortable. Overall, Model S is a great car and an OG. And Sawyer says that the best Tesla is the Cybertruck, the best value Tesla is the Model Y. Another fatal Tesla crash on Autopilot goes to trial, but this time with new evidence. The families of the victims have taken the accidents to trials for wrongful death at times, but Tesla always won. That's because in virtually all cases, Tesla was able to show that the driver was not paying attention at the moment of the accident or leading up to it. When using Autopilot or FSD beta, Tesla tells drivers that they need to pay attention at all times and to be ready to take control at all times. If drivers are not doing that, they are misusing the system. This is a sensitive matter, but there's little to no doubt that the driver wasn't paying attention and was on his phone. From this evidence, you can say that this was the driver's fault. However, the lawyers representing the family are taking a different approach and focusing on Tesla, knowing that the system could be misused and not doing anything to prevent it. But hold on, what do you mean Tesla is not doing anything to prevent this? NHTSA made Tesla add all of these warnings to a point that many Tesla owners are saying this is way too much. This is making the system actually more dangerous because you can't even use it. And when you use it, you have to be so careful not to disengage it that it's actually counterproductive. Falcon 9's first stage has landed on the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship, completing this booster's 17th launch and landing, and Elon Musk commented on this too. Falcon 9 launches today, carrying 4 terabits per second of capacity to orbit. It looks like Samsung SDI has advanced its target time for producing 46Phi batteries to early 2025. Choi Yun-ho, CEO of Samsung SDI, told reporters at the opening ceremony of Interbattery 2024 that 46Phi batteries can be fully mass-produced by early next year. And personally, my understanding is that it includes Tesla-style 4680 batteries or, for example, Rivian's 4695 cells. So I take it as good news for Tesla. We have a ton of new Model 3s that are waiting at Shanghai's southern port for export on March 10th. And the upgraded Model 3 Highland will soon be on display to meet customers in South Korea, and it has now been first spotted on Korea's roads. Starlink has over 2.6 million customers as of March 2024. Since the Starlink customer count was 2.3 million in December, then the growth rate is about 100,000 customers a month. Since some customers turn off service for months not in use, the term customers isn't the same as subscribers. Well, yeah, Starlink's growth is pretty impressive.
Well, first let's address the reason why it's lagged. I mean, it's pretty simple. The numbers have come down. I mean, if you look at the earnings revisions for the last 12 plus months, they've been terrible. I mean, I think we started for 2023 somewhere early in that year on $6, and it came all the way down to $3. And I think we're at a period of time right now where the worries likely exceed the reality. And we had some numbers last week come out of China that weren't very good, but those people didn't take into account that the new year has been pushed into February. Also some stuff that happened in Germany. Their plant came down for about a week because of arson, a week plus. And in the US, people are worried about the production of their new Model 3. And we think that the best way to kind of gauge, for the most part, what's happening with Tesla, particularly in the US, is to look at their prices. And they've been pretty stable in the US over the last few months. So, there's a lot of wood to chop still in the quarter, but in the near term, we think that we may have overcorrected here to the downside.
Yeah, with the news of Giga Berlin situation being resolved as we speak, the stock is up right now. And this is with the markets being slightly down, actually. However, when Gary Black met with Tesla's management in Austin earlier, he said that the Tesla team did not want to say that the gross margins have bottomed. So Gary, to some extent, implied, I guess, that Tesla is likely to cut prices further. And if that happens, the earnings estimates are going to come down again. And with that, possibly the stock could drop. So in the short term, we certainly could have more noise. But in the long term, what really matters is the next generation vehicle, FSD, Tesla's energy division, and other projects like Dojo and the Tesla bot could also pay off handsomely.
Look, we're in a little bit of a pause period right now for the stock. In the near term wiggles, we think we've overcorrected, but for the stock to really get its legs, we have to have three things happen. First, the next generation vehicle has to start to ramp, or people have to gain confidence that it's going to ramp and be successful. Second, their margins need to go up, and the most likely lever for that happening is the increase of FSD, full self-driving penetration, which leverages the AI that they've built, in addition to volumes starting to pick back up. And third, it's continuation in growth, really good growth in their energy storage business. So when you talk about leveraging this R&D that they've spent a lot on, it's two real products that come out of that, the big spending. It's number one, that next generation vehicle, which we think should start production in the second half of 2025, and continued FSD penetration. Now, we think that the FSD offering from the company at $12,000 currently is a little too rich, particularly relative to the cost of the vehicle. We think the company should cut the price of that FSD to really increase penetration and really have the margins start to turn in. If you think about it, that offering is about 100% gross margin, very, very high gross margin because it's a software upgrade.
I think FSD V12 is likely going to increase Tesla's FSD penetration. And what would make me quite bullish on FSD is if Tesla suddenly started offering free trials. If we start seeing that happen, then you actually know that Tesla thinks FSD is already really good, and therefore it is actually trying to get people to use FSD as much as it possibly can. Because at least with FSD V11, if you use it, maybe if you are into tech, you will love it, and maybe you'll buy it, and maybe you'll get a subscription if you cannot buy it. But for many people, if they have a disengagement and if it's a bit awkward, would they want to keep using it? Probably no. They wouldn't want to keep using it. But with FSD 12, if it's smooth, and if you do have a disengagement, but it's done in a smooth way, I think you would still want to keep using it. Which is why FSD free trials could possibly bring Tesla a lot of revenue if FSD V12 is actually pretty good. I haven't tried FSD 12 myself yet, so I'm not really sure if Tesla should go with free trials for FSD V12, but if Tesla does, that's bullish, at least for me personally.
George, we have seen, though, the price wars play out. Obviously, Tesla far from the only automaker, one of many, I should say, that has been forced to lower the prices, obviously putting pressures on margins, very similar to what you were just saying. How do you see that, more broadly speaking, beyond Tesla, shaking out just a bit, and that pressure to the downside in terms of boosting demand? How much longer are they going to be forced to slash prices in order to drive the demand that we simply have not seen?
Well, look, there's been a pause, like I said, recently, particularly in the US. The price declines that we saw for the most part in 2023 is sort of ebbed right now, which for us is an indication that maybe things aren't that bad. And what the company did strategically by being that aggressive is, first of all, they get to sell more vehicles, right? Because interest rates went up and most people financed the purchase of their vehicles. So that meant that the prices of vehicles went up artificially. But second, it put a lot of their competitors on their back legs. I mean, margins got a lot worse for some of the pure play EV competitors. Sales got a lot worse for them. And even for the traditional OEMs that try to compete against Tesla, their margins got significantly worse because they couldn't compete with Tesla on price. So what we saw is, longer term, what Tesla did is put a lot of its competition on the back foot, particularly in the United States and Europe.
This is what I have been talking about for well over a year now. With lower prices, Tesla is going to seriously hurt competition. It's going to hurt Tesla stock in the meantime, but in the long term, it could actually put Tesla in a stronger position because there would be less competition.
And so let's talk then about China, because that's one of the larger kind of lingering risks right now for Tesla. Is sentiment shifting so much in the region that there would be a longer term implication for how Tesla is able to operate and sell into China as well?
That's a great question. I mean, look, we see the real competition for Tesla long term. Look, we really like Rivian in the United States and in parts of Europe and other parts of North America. But in China specifically, there's some very, very good OEM competitors, some pure play EV companies. The company has one plant in China right now, able to produce about 950,000 vehicles. And they're running, despite this, monthly volatility, they're running full tilt there, and we continue to believe they'll run full tilt in that country. So, there's really good competition in China, but we think Tesla can operate that factory at relatively full capacity. That leaves them in a good place in that country.
Tesla is doing fairly okay in China, and especially when the next generation vehicle comes out, I think that's where Tesla is going to start really putting serious pressure on some of these pure play EV companies in China.
So George, as we wrap this up, we started this segment talking about the share price being under pressure. We're trading around $179 a share today. What more specifically does that upside look like?
Look, our price target is in the 230s, and we base that on 26 times our 2026 estimates. And we think that's going to happen as volumes start to pick up next year and the year after that, based on increased Cybertruck production and the next generation vehicle. And importantly, we think that the margins will start to get better, particularly as we've seen an abatement in price reductions, at least for now, and costs continue to come down for the company. So, in the near term, we have these wiggles, and we think, like we said, we've overcorrected to the downside in the near term. But, for real outperformance, we need to next generation vehicle or some visibility to that, increased margins based on FSD mostly, and continued growth in their energy storage business. Those three things will really get the stock to get its outperformance legs of old back.
But it could also be some other things. For example, maybe some other investment firms are going to come out with increased buy ratings for Tesla stock, like Morgan Stanley did earlier last year, and they increased their price target by a lot because they included Dojo. So if Tesla does a Tesla bot demonstration and all of a sudden everyone thinks, oh, the Tesla bot potentially could be worth $100 per share, $200 per share already for Tesla stock, the stock would of course rise. So I don't think it has to be these three things. I'm not counting on the Tesla bot, by the way, for the Tesla stock to go up in the short term, definitely not. But I'm just saying, it's not as simple as that. There are so many possible catalysts for Tesla stock waiting to happen. Some, of course, will never come to fruition. Like, for example, the Dojo project is somewhat high risk, but also high reward. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't yet, and I will see you in tomorrow's episode. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt Posius.